where synthetic and original data will meet. And at this, we are segueing to the concluding presentation.
In attack detection, we often have a lot of good data and a lot of bad data. And how we can validate those algorithms is a hard task. So our speaker, Alan, as Alan Turing, will tell us today about what we can do about the anomaly detection algorithms. So if you are standing, please have a seat. If you want to continue discussions, please go outside. And we are starting our final presentation. You have the floor. Hi, my name is Alan Savushkin. I'm Kaspersky data researcher. Okay. Even closer, like this? Okay. And I will be talking to you about auditing the anomaly detection algorithm. Why am I presenting? What is this presentation about? We won't be comparing the models here. There's a lot of material about this. And I think it does not make a lot of sense. We will analyze the example. We won't cover all the issues and examples, of course. I gave some fundamental scenario for looking for anomalies in the time series. Of course, this is my opinion, my experience, and this is what worked for us. So, looking for anomalies in time series, often filtered by categories, like amount of emails, amount of messages, based on clients, based on domain, services. This gives more information, because if you have an anomaly on some service, you will be able to understand better. And in general, if some anomaly happened, then something is wrong. And this is a template that you can put anything you like in. Different tasks, but one principle. Let's have a look at the typical anomaly search and try to understand the paradigm we're in. We take some model, we choose it somehow. This meme has a lot of truth to it, and I will explain why the thresholds are important. We chose something, we trained the model, it modeled the raw data, and we apply it. So if the observation do not suit the model, then we consider it an anomaly. But what is an anomaly? Often when I ask the customers about it, it's something that, easy to see with your eyes.
Вроде бы просто.
Seems easy. The circle is definitely an anomaly here. But first, questions arise when we apply those models to reality. Look, simple example. You see the anomaly. But when you use the model, you can get a lot of false positives because they just don't fit into the model. But the behavior is not an anomaly. So the first solution here, as I said, is to base it on the threshold. If we have trusted interval, we can use it as a reference. This will be easy to understand for the customer. Plus, if you explain about the trusted interval, it's hard to understand. And if you just say that it's 3 times or 2 times more than the average value, and it's understood. Anomalies have context. All the data has context. You definitely have some books. You don't read them just as they are. You read them in some context. Otherwise, any book makes no sense. Right while it's on the shelf. Also, we had a lot of presentations about language models today, and there's a lot of talk about it. And we set the context by our prompt for the language model. We create the context for the data, create the sense of the data. Some more examples of the context. You can also put a lot of other variations here. So if we give different context here, we will have different anomalies.
Но мы просто наблюдаем какие-то данные.
But usually the context is outside of our scope. We just watch the data, the graphs, the tables.
Давайте пойдем дальше. Как раз оттолкнемся от...
So let's have a further look.
Простой пример. Кажется, что...
A simple example. You see an anomaly, right? The task is solved.
Но
But what does this all mean?
этот всплеск мог продолжиться
This outlier could continue this way, and depending on the context, which graph it is, like the number of users, for example. This is an anomaly. The client has experiences some pain, or it can be the amount of bugs. And the developers have fixed something and the amount of bugs has reduced. They know what they have fixed and they expect the amount of errors to decline. But in their context, it's not an anomaly. And we will keep sending alerts to them and spamming them. Plus, even if for that group we keep spamming them, they know that something has happened, right? They don't need us to continue. One more thing is when we are not adjusted to some raw, we can miss the outliers. And my vision here is the following. You need to create adaptive models that will be able to adapt to different things. We see here that if we have an anomaly, our model creates a broader trusted interval. It's not sure about the current situation. And to me, this is fine.
Так, у меня сейчас мандраж внутренний, поэтому я буду...
Sorry, I'm nervous. I might hiccup.
Вот пока у нас что-то там резко всколыхнулось,
So if we have some outlier, some dramatic change, we are disoriented, and we can actually benefit from uncertainty. It's like in winter when you are walking on the ice and monitoring where to step. And if you don't expect the ice, you slip and you are disoriented. You don't follow what is going on around. Same is about the model. It just needs that uncertainty. And you need also to be able to work with seasonality. Those peaks, morning sessions, for example, with system login.
типичным поведением.
Those big amount of users is not an issue, right? It's normal for the morning behavior for a lot of users to log in. If we talk about the number of users, then gaps will be important for them. For developers who fix the bugs, they know they will fix and there will be less bugs, right? And they're not interested in considering this. So for them, we can decide that things that go down are not an issue. For example, we can check only things that go up or things that go down. This solves the problem quite often.
Но
So imagine we've managed to adapt to the role. But now we don't see the trends, which might be interesting and needed. The first question, do we really need the trend? When we were creating the system, the trends were not of interest to us. People were in the context of something is going on, then we deploy something and we expect some behavior. But then the interest arises. And here my vision is the following. The trend is a long-lasting entity. And we can, for example, differentiate the raw of data and deduct the previous data from the current. So now, instead of finding the trends, we are finding the data behavior. We can keep improving this because we still have the noise. And we can, of course, detect things earlier. But in general, this is what suits us.
Я еще упоминал, как это можно сделать. В принципе, на самом
I also mentioned how we can make it happen. This is not too big of a question. You just need to identify the base block. You can multiply them, you sum them up. You can vary the parameters, like noise, the trends, the periods. And it's easy to understand how the algorithm behaves. So by that, instead of looking in the production data, you will be generating it yourself.
здесь вроде как про DS говорится, и
We have also DS discussion here, and it would be nice to discuss the metric. But my vision for this task is the following. Metrics make no sense here, both for the customer, because if, for example, you tell them, here's what's going on, they will ask what you catch and what you don't catch. So why do you need to spend time on explaining the metric if you will have to discuss the cases? Same for DF. It's not very useful because you can get to a situation when you just keep changing your algorithm to some model. But this will be just a casino play. So by improving the metric, you won't be improving what you want from the system. What I also wanted to show you here is we can have good, positive cases, bad, negative cases, and some uncertainty. When we calculate something, we aggregate it, but the metric loses the nuances, so we don't see the trends, the details, which means you are better off showing the cases immediately, and you will be better off, and the customer will be better off. I mentioned the audit, and the statistics is that I mentioned it only twice during my presentation, but the context I mentioned much more. When we look at the data, we can not see the context, but it's there. So for one small thing on a graph, it can be very different. Thus, it's important to test the algorithm and ask the question, what if it's wrong? What if the data is different? Because what we see currently is working. And we have some good KPIs. But it doesn't mean that if when we really deploy, the people will be satisfied. So with that, I conclude. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you indeed. We have some time for the questions. As usual, we have gifts.
Здравствуйте, спасибо.
Questions? Hi, thank you for the presentation. My name is Vadim. And if we talk about the case, let's try to find out how we can validate some algorithm based on some case, like time series analysis. Is it possible to create an algorithm, machine learning algorithm, that will understand the administrative activity and
Мне хочется сразу задать вопрос, а как выглядит эта кривулька вот этих данных?
understand what is right and what is wrong? My answer, this question leads to how this graph will look. For example, SSH packet. There were some peaks, and the context is maybe the activity time. But my question is, for you, what metric you would like to measure in this case? What would you be monitoring to understand whether this activity is malicious or not? Okay, I think I understood the question. But look, if we find an anomaly, big peak, sudden peak, can be very bad, can be neutral. We cannot avoid them. We look at only the time series. We don't use the context. So we give some extra information that the customer wants that will help him to understand faster what can happen there. So if he sees that, no, we don't need to pay attention to it, definitely they need to work with an anomalies and you need to analyze it. But the question is, why don't we use the context? And the answer is, based on my experience, that the context can be non-statistical. For example, you have a peak. What happened there? You get an answer like this and this and that happened. So in the same context, you will see, other story. So a small detail will change that is not statistical, that you cannot understand it, but the result changes. So the context can be very different and it can be rational. For example, we say, let's give you an alert on some category, some pivot table, adding some letters. I think you mean the business metric that is not important to measure, but it's important to understand the impact. Okay, so we send a lot of alerts, and if there's too many alerts from the customer, because they're giving us too many alerts, you just add more context, and this is a continuous process, right? You need to constantly adapt your alerts. Okay, so even if we used an adaptive model, we will have the cases with outliers that are not anomalies. Thus, we add extra information to reduce the time required to work with those anomalies. Examples on where we get the information? Well, let's get some raw data from the customer, and if we see an outlier, we understand the raw, we can add extra information, extra context, some information from the database. So this alert should go through your analysts, right? Well, usually the analysts are the customer. Well, I don't want to put too much advertising here, but we gave some ideas on how we find hackers in Positive Technologies presentation. There's a lot of solutions and ideas. Of course, the decision can be different based on this or that case, and I understand why it's hard to answer this question for Alan. Yeah, have a look at this presentation. And as a context, you can add the information not only about SSH, but the amount of packets sent, because no one comes to the machine just to be there. Everybody comes there to, dump some data. Yeah, there's a lot of features, a lot of things that show you that this is a malicious activity. Yeah, feature engineering. From the previous presentation, we know that you can enrich the data with the synthetic data. Well, again, this is about context. We, as a service, we look more at the graph. We are the model that just takes your graph and finds stuff there. And we say, if you need extra information there, of course, there are talks about how we can use it, but when we listen to it,
Там придется проделать больше работы, чем просто дать полезную информацию, которая быстрее...
there will be more work there than giving useful information about this alert. So yeah, reducing the cognitive load on the expert for him to find the hacker in one click, so that he can avoid clicking a lot and get the answer immediately.
То есть, если мы...
Let me give some clarification. Reducing the cognitive load can be very useful to remove the irrelevant cases.
Вон там есть вопрос.
Thank you. We have a question from there.
Спасибо за доклад. Еще
Thank you for the presentation. Once again, about the context.
что если по контексту
I wanted to ask if we use the context to build more time series and analyze the multidimensional time series with the same SSH success. For example, if the guy did not go to work, but we see him active. Yeah, of course, multidimensional data is our next step of development, and currently we just cover the simple scenarios, and the clients are happy. So working with anomalies is the process.
А тут им приходит что-то...
Imagine we had a team
Нам что-то куда-то сейчас лезет.
that got nothing,
Вот. Потом, смотрите, происходит процесс...
and the analysts are like, what do we need to do here? So when people look at the data, at the graph, because everybody is drawing those graphs, they see maybe something nearby. They say, hey, look, we can consider a number of rows. If we have requests for that, we'll do that. If we don't, we don't. Yeah, I think we are discussing the profiling issue. People process the context. We have a person with some amount of anomaly, some profile. So the anomalies, the context.
Вот. Тоже сейчас добавлю мысль в голову.
Needs to be analyzed. One more thing. I thought about anomalies composition. We catch the peaks, we catch the trend. And what you suggest is a separate type of anomaly based on number of time series, not trying to put into one model. Separate the features. Next question. Please help us pass the mic. Thank you indeed.
Когда мы работаем с временными рядами, есть
When we work with the time series, there's an issue of us working with only the time series that we have, and we cannot get into all the parallel universes and try to understand how it will work in all the other cases. So how do you validate? What is your best method for validating the time series? Cases.
Тренды. Там вы
Identify the anomaly type, high frequent anomalies, for example, divide in some time series, draw can continue. Have a look at what's happening in the future. Have a look at what's happening with the other data. If you see that something is got here, then change the parameter. For example, change the noise, change the trend, change the period, and have a look how it affects everything else. So if we see that the change is good and we are satisfied with what is going on, then we expect with higher probability than any metric can give us that if this case happens, we will be able to catch it.
На более высоком, наверное, стратегическом.
So continuing to a higher, more strategic level, do you see there's some approach? No, not really. No, the approach was chosen and so far it satisfies everything. I use bias method. Thank you. Thank you very much. Very important word.
Да, здравствуйте. Вот возник такой
Hello. I have a question. Researching the context is a non-linear and highly resource-demanding question. How can we simplify it? Because it's usually better done with some cross-competencies, and how can the data science improve its results in this? Well, it's important part, very important to tell the customer when we come back. Can we put us back to the previous slide?
Сейчас мы постараемся.
Ну, если
Yeah, let us try. Okay, anyways, I'll be talking in the meantime. When we have some team coming to us and saying, like, we want the anomalies, and they usually tell us a lot about the specifics of their roles. And I usually ask them to show the dashboard. And it's the same for many tasks, but they just have their own context. So what I say is it's important that we are a model. We look at your graphs, and you need to expect this to be an iterative process. We will give you the anomalies. You'll understand better what is there, and then we will just add that information.
все в research, и быстрее
We will not dive too deep into the research, and you, as a client, will get the result you want.
придется посмотреть
So, forewarn the client that there will be some interaction. Everything they get at the first attempt will be useful. Okay, we have final question. Let me ask it.
Как вы тестируете как раз
Can you share some ideas on how you test the algorithms with anomalies? Because it's synthetic data, or do you gather the data yourself, or do you ask your expert to attack something and have a look, or you just use the mathematical models that imitate the patterns that can be useful? Same as synthetic data, actually. Well,
первое, мы можем просто взять, выкачать данные,
first, we can just download the data, find something, and
которые есть у аналитиков, которые
give to the customer to have a look.
сказать, вот,
We usually take the analytics that the client sees.
ну, прогоним, посмотрим.
Let's
Вот. Здесь мы, ну,
get a row and
синтезируем только
analyze it.
и то кейсы, то есть не полностью.
We synthesize only the rows for us
И мы еще
on data series,
уточнить, типа, а что
time series,
что вот, допустим, если будет какая-то атака, что-то мы
and we ask, what do you expect? Which types of anomalies do you expect
проводим работу.
from that?
это очень здорово, такая, видимо,
And that's how we work.
интеграция с аналитиками, которые
You definitely have serious integration with analysts that help you.
По опыту, что
And yeah, based on my experience, I
работать с
understood that it motivates the customers to work with the product.
прям какое-то воодушевление, что типа, да,
As I saw real interest
ждать месяц. Хотя у нас своя загрузка.
with the customers, and you won't have to wait for a month. I think it's a great insight. It's time to choose the best question. They were all very good.
Вот про SSH мы,
Unfortunately, you have to choose SSH context, definitely.
по-моему, это был вот тот человек.
Простите,
That
пожалуйста.
was the other person. Okay, sorry.
И про TS. Мне кажется, про TS тоже
About TS. It's important.
Спасибо.
We do need to be paid attention to. Thank you. Let's have a round of applause.
Надо было еще контекст.
I didn't have time, but yeah, we had to ask for more context. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's time for us to conclude our session, but at 7 o'clock, we will have the continuation of the fast track with our great topic of AI, favorite topic. We'll have the presentation about the vulnerabilities in PyTorch.
В общем, 7 часов.
So at 7 o'clock, Techno,
Как раз таки
Techno Place,
Но
we will have ML here. But this is not the end. Tomorrow, we have other sessions, machine learning, security,
наши ребята
at 10 o'clock in development.
вообще надо
There's a lot of high load,
потом в 13:00
and you need to catch it. So from 1 o'clock at the Python track, there will be a number of presentations, very interesting presentations about machine learning. And during all that time, there will be data breakout contest to cut, to hack into somebody's office within 300 seconds and get the secrets out of the safe that is protected by the password, the face, and the voice. Of course, you don't know any of this in the beginning, but there's an opportunity as part of the quest to learn it and get very interesting prizes.
данной секции за то, что задавали
Thank you very much for being with us on this session. For great questions.
и подготовили очень
And thank you to our great speakers that have prepared very, very interesting and inspiring presentations.
просто по себе.
I drew a lot of conclusions, a lot of interesting facts for myself. So have fun. All the best to you. And hopefully all the things that you learned today will help you in your work, in your hobby, in your hacks, in protection. And of course, we're waiting for you at the next session, AI, at AI security, which we will have next time in PH Days. Hopefully not as just listeners, but also as a presenter. Please do submit your report. Thank you. Thank you very much.